Bitcoin is on the verge, quite literally, edging right now on the verge of its legitimately biggest, most massive, most vertical move that Bitcoin sees only once every 4 years. Look at this chart. Now look at this chart. I don't want to say that what's about to happen is big, because honestly, big is simply not strong enough of a word. Large, massive, colossal, ginormous, humongous, mammoth, gigantic, immense. And all of these words combined still aren't half as big as what's actually about to happen. Bitcoin right now is highly likely to repeat something that it has done at the very beginning of every single one of these Bitcoin bull markets. And right now we're on the literal last step of completing that insanely repetitive, time-tested historical breakout pattern. Quite literally, this is massive. So if you understand that what's about to happen to Bitcoin isn't just big, it's extremely big. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, get signed up to BINGX or BINGX below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. Specifically as well, anyone that signs up to my BINGX link below can earn 100 free USDT when signing up. And without any further ado, let's absolutely dump in to this video where this is massive. In just about 24 hours, Bitcoin is going to be getting a weekly candle close. And if the weekly candle closes, basically where we're at right now, or even just above 69.5, let's actually take a look exactly where the highest weekly candle closes for Bitcoin. Yeah, pretty much at about 69,000. So if Bitcoin pretty much closes above 69,000, this is massive. And it's something we've seen many times, in fact. If we look, we looked at this chart a couple of videos ago, but realistically, in 2013, Bitcoin topped out. And then in 2017, it got up to those all-time highs, got rejected. And then immediately after it recovered, after getting rejected at that previous all-time high, it started exploding. Then the 2017 top, which we just talked about, when we came up to that in late 2020, we initially got rejected. And then after we recovered from that first rejection, Bitcoin started exploding. It doubled in price in just a couple of weeks. In fact, this actually took about 4 weeks. And right now we're on our 4th week after doing something a little bit bigger but very similar. We came up to that previous all-time high just a couple of weeks ago in the 2021 top. We came up to this previous top from 2021. We actually went above it for the first time ever. So we set a new all-time high, which is huge. But then, of course, we did get a rejection. And now this is our 4th week where we're trading right at this level. And I mean, keep in mind what I just said. It took about 4 weeks to ultimately start exploding past this all-time high. Bitcoin right now, if it gets a weekly close, as I just said, above 69,000, basically the higher the better. If it gets a strong weekly close here, I personally think that Bitcoin is absolutely going to start erupting to the upside this week. There's a time for fun and games. There's a time for rainbows and lollipops. And there's a time to absolutely get pumped on. And I'm telling you, this isn't fun and games. This isn't rainbows and lollipops. This is where we absolutely pump on it. This is quite literally massive. Guys, I'm one of those people, right? I personally don't necessarily like when people are always hype about the market, but you have to understand something. In very small percentage times of this market, you need to be hype, okay? If you fast forward, or if you rewind time and you go back here to 2020 and you say, you shouldn't have been hype right here. Let me just be honest. You're an absolute ding dong. You 1000% should have been mega hype right here. Look what happened. The market exploded. Bitcoin went to, the entire crypto market cap went to a couple $1 trillion in valuation for the first time ever. Right? We go back to 2017. If you would rewind time and you go back here, you would say, oh, you shouldn't have been hype right here. No, you 1,000 trillion, quadrillion, billion% should have been mega hype right here. This was insane. Bitcoin went from about $1,100 to about 20,000 US dollars, and altcoins went way higher percentage wise. Okay. There is a time in these markets where if you're not hype, you're a fool. It's a very small percentage of the time, right? Most of the time you shouldn't be like crazy hype, but there are select circumstances in this market where you have to understand the massive reward and the massive overlap in the risk to reward of like looking at this market, the risk is so minimal compared to the reward of this situation right now. Could we get a rejection here? Sure. Maybe we won't explode this week. Maybe it'll be next week. But the point is, this is like literally, quite literally, okay? And this is not exaggeration. This is literally like the most hype-worthy part of a Bitcoin bull cycle. We are quite literally at the point right before Bitcoin starts exploding past all-time highs, blue sky breakout, price discovery, no previous resistance because we're at levels we have simply never been before. That is what we're about to do. Whether it's tomorrow, whether it's next week or next week, I personally don't care. I don't think it matters that much. It is very clear to me this is exactly what's been happening. Bitcoin has done exactly what I thought it was going to do for the past 16 months, whereas there were people that are completely wrong for the past 16 months. The people telling you it was going to keep going down for years, right? So I'm very confident where we are right now. For the past 16 months, my thesis and many of your theses as well have been proven right. And now we're at that point that we quite literally wait 4 years for. So all I'm saying is if there is ever a point where you should be hype on this market, it is right now. Not always, okay? But if you're one of those people, you're simply foolish. You're an idiot if you think that this is the time to be mega bearish, okay? I don't know how to say it more clearly. You're an absolute idiot if you think that. You're probably the same person that's been calling for 10K for the past 12 months as you watch your portfolio dwindle down to sticks and stones. You absolute fool. And also on the daily chart for Bitcoin, we have another massive thing happening. On the daily chart for Bitcoin, we're about to get a bullish MACD cross here on the daily chart. We also see the Bollinger Bands being as tight as they have been since the last eruption back on February 27th. Okay, a little over a month ago before this move up. We see the BBWs, my favorite indicator personally, the BBW. We see the last time that it had contracted this much, there were 2 times this year. February 27th when Bitcoin was at 50,000 and then it went up to 74,000. And right here, back on February 7th when Bitcoin was at 43,000 and then it went all the way up to 53,000. So the Bollinger Bands are tight again. The BBW is down again. We just got an RSI bullish cross. The MACD is about to make a bullish cross on the daily chart. All I'm saying is this could be a perfect setup for massive continuation, massive upside as we truly begin this massive bull market. Maybe we'll finish out this pattern and get a full breakout to previous all-time highs on the short term for Bitcoin. It's a bullish setup. It's quite literally mega bullish. We look at, and again, as I say that, I'm not guaranteeing that we're going to be exploding tomorrow. I'm not guaranteeing that this is guaranteed to go up immediately. Maybe we get a short-term pullback. But all I'm saying is, who cares? It absolutely doesn't matter. Unless your entire life depends on trading the next 5 days, which it shouldn't, unless you're just in the worst position possible that you put yourself in for some dumb reason, then it absolutely doesn't matter. Overall, this market is extremely likely to start having its most final and explosive phase for Bitcoin. Bitcoin, again, this chart is a really good illustration of it, right? We're at the exact same spot right here as we've been multiple times, granted a little bit earlier than in the past. Maybe that means we'll top out earlier. Who knows? Very possible. I've never been someone to say it's impossible. In fact, my opinion is that I personally think Bitcoin might top out this year. A lot of people have been saying Q1, Q2 of 2025. I don't know. I think it might top out before that, before 2024 ends. But we look at this chart realistically, it's absolutely jam-packed. We're about to get, less than 24 hours, or about 24 hours, we're about to get a very important, extremely important weekly close. And all I'm saying is that if in roughly 24 hours we get this weekly close above 69,000, nice, then all bets are off. The juice is loose. Very likely that I think we're going to see further continuation to the upside, just like we have once every 4 years when we are in this exact same spot after a multi-year bear market that we have now come out of. Really truly beginning literally the very beginning of 2023 is when that began, the uptrend, right, as we bottomed. This is an opportunity that, let's say a couple months from now, Bitcoin's at 120,000 and your altcoins are up a lot and you're up a lot. I'm not going to be able to say, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and I will not be saying this is maximum opportunity. I will not be saying this is the time to be the most hype, okay? Use this video, save it if you want, right? I guarantee I will not be saying things like that. And if I go back on my word, just play this clip, right? This is literally all online, so it's really easy to show if I say something and it does or doesn't happen, right? It's documented online. There's videos of it. But the point is, this is quite honestly, according to charts, according to everything we've seen historically, the part right before Bitcoin specifically makes its biggest moves. Altcoins, in my opinion, I don't think they're going to top out for a little bit now. I think alts still have months and months to go before they really, I mean, alts all move independently. Some, like for example, Solana has been amazing the past few months, whereas a lot of the top alts, the other top alts aren't really doing that much. It has been Solana specifically for the past couple of months. And there will be a point where Solana doesn't do as much and some of these other coins start doing a lot. So alts, I think, are going to really start picking up steam and being really exciting in the headlines over the next couple of months. But I think right now, Bitcoin is about to steal the show again. It is still Bitcoin season, big time in my opinion. And I think that it's going to get, I mean, the fact we have Bitcoin spot ETFs, maybe Bitcoin season is here to stay in terms like maybe Bitcoin euphoria doesn't really go away during this whole cycle because there's so many possible inflows that can go into Bitcoin only. But I do want to look at a few things as well. So as Matthew Hyland points out here as well, this chart here, the Bollinger Bands being extremely tight. He says right here, currently the tightest level since we've seen is since Bitcoin was at 45,000 US dollars. That's absolutely ginormous. We also see this. Someone bought over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin today at 70,000 US dollars. Is it potentially another nation state buying? There's been a lot of rumors circulating. Edward Snowden, I believe, even came out and said, basically, we're going to be seeing that nations have been buying Bitcoin this entire run up, and it's going to be insane, right? I think it's going to continue. I think nations are going to continue to buy Bitcoin, and I think companies are going to start adopting Michael Saylor's strategy as well. And all of that involves only one thing: buying massive amounts of Bitcoin. And what does buying massive amounts of Bitcoin do? It pushes up the price. We also see this, and I think this is so important, right? Crypto is honestly changing people's lives. And if you're watching this video and it hasn't quite affected you yet, I want to tell you something. So as I've shared many times in the past, last cycle, back in 2020, 2021 is where my life was basically changed in terms of crypto. Amounts of money that I made that I did not think I would make for, maybe a decade or so. And I ended up doing, maybe ever, and ended up making those crazy amounts back in 2020, end of 2020, beginning of 2021. And it's happening again, right? This post says someone's been buying Bitcoin and ETH every month since basically the top of the last bull market. But if Bitcoin reaches 150K, which is about a 2x from here, and if ETH reaches about 15K, this person says, he can pay off his mortgage, he can retire, doesn't have to work, he or she can retire, they don't have to work ever again. If they sold now, they'd still be in an incredible position, even if it doesn't go up to those prices. But it's currently changing their life. One thing I want to highlight about that is obviously for that to actually happen, you need to take some profit, right? They're unrealized gains until you actually realize the gains. So keep that in mind. I'm not sure if this person took profit or not, but if they're in a really good position and they take profit, then their life basically has changed. And all I'm saying is, if you're one of those people where you're not quite there yet, that's totally okay. I still think there's tons of time left. You still have tons of opportunity left. But also, even if it doesn't happen this cycle, if you can stay resilient and you can persevere and keep a solid mindset, it will happen to you eventually. 99% of people fail because they just give up or they decide, you know what, I'm getting out, I'm selling, whatever the dumb reason is. It's always based on fear. Whatever the reason is, if you're able to persevere through the hard times, because, holding when Bitcoin's exploding is very easy. When it's going up, it's very easy. But, when you enter a bear market, if you can survive through that, that is where you make the most money. And that is where you basically decide, do I want to succeed in this market or do I not? So all I want to say basically with that is people are going to start literally seeing their life change in the next few months with the gains that we're seeing. It is possible. It is possible. But it's also equally as possible that you can mess it all up by panicking and chasing bags and not selling or selling too early, right? There's a ton of mistakes you can make. But the point is, you are lucky because you're in a good position right now if you've been invested and you've been following this market and you're positioned well if you have bags. And get signed up to FEMX or BINGX below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. Without further ado, it's free.